So this is Learning Doesn't Have to Be Live, and I am Samantha Rouse, and I'm so glad that you chose to spend some time on your Tuesday night here with me. I know you're probably tired if you've worked all day. Your brain is probably on overload. If you've attended some other sessions today, you might have just a lot of stuff going on in your head and things you want to implement. And so I really appreciate that you are here and present, and just ready to, learn some more things about asynchronous learning. Just a little about me. This is year 14 for me. And I told somebody that yesterday, and they said, "You don't look old enough to have 14 years in education." And I said, "Well, thank you very much." But I really do feel that 14 years a lot this year, especially. I have worked for Duplin County, Jones County, Lenoir County, and North Carolina Virtual Public Schools. Currently, I teach kindergarten through 5th grade STEM education. I see every student in the building, all 460 of them. Well, they're not there right now. We're all virtual at the moment. I love it. And I also teach OCS English for North Carolina Virtual. I currently am teaching English 3, and absolutely love that. I started my educational career as a high school English teacher. So that OCS English really still lets me, have my ELA and my reading and my literature outlet while I'm working with the elementary kids. As I said, I did teach 9-12 English. I have also been an assistant principal in a K-8 school. I spent a semester teaching 8th grade ELA. That was the scariest semester of my life. And I know now why I was not designed to be a middle school teacher. I taught 5th grade for a year. I taught 3rd grade for a year. And I was also a digital learning specialist in my school in Lenoir County. I am very passionate about engaging learners. Virtual teaching is my jam. And I also love co-teaching. There's just something special about 2 passionate educators who can really reach all the students in the room. I am married with 3 sons, 2 middle schoolers and a 3rd grader, and both of my parents are retired educators from Carteret County. They tried to talk me out of education, said, "You'll never make any money." And I said, "I don't care, this is what I want to do." This year has really made me question that a lot, but I was talking to my husband about it the other night, and he said, "You're still happy when you come home. I know you're stressed and I know it's a lot, but I still see that spark in you." So that made me feel good, that he knows that it's still there. Norms for tonight, go ahead and make sure your first and last name are displayed on Zoom. I see most of y'all already have that on there. I feel like I'm teaching a 4th grade morning meeting because they will name themselves some strange things. We always have to remind them first and last name. Make sure you put any of your questions in the chat. I may not get to everything tonight, and so after the session is over, I will download the chat file, and then I can email you and address any questions that I might have missed or things that you might need further explanation with. If you put a question in the chat, if you'll please include the email address that you'd like for me to answer it at, that would be great. Please leave your mic on mute unless you're actively speaking. This helps us cut down on background noise. This is my big one. There are no dumb questions. Some of us are, feel like we're pros at asynchronous learning at this point. Some of us are just starting out. The rules are changing every day on what we can and cannot do, where we can and cannot post. So we're all at different comfort levels. And my goal tonight is to help you increase your comfort and give you some real things that you can, jump in tomorrow and start doing to make your life easier and your teaching experience better. Share your best practices. No teacher's an island, and we can all learn from one another. I am all the time learning from people. Today I was trying to figure out something on a Google Sheet and put it out there on Facebook to the Hive Mind on Facebook. And people started saying, "This is how you do this, and this is how you do this." So no teacher is an island. We all, especially right now, we all need each other. We all need the information and the experience and the skills that the other people in our building and the other people in our profession have. So please, don't be ashamed to ask questions or share things. Just a quick overview of synchronous versus asynchronous. I think we are all pretty well versed in these two words. I gave this presentation this summer and no one really knew what asynchronous or synchronous meant. But I think now we all have a pretty good idea. So synchronous is live. It is happening in the moment, just like this presentation is happening synchronously, okay? And there are pros and cons to that. Some things that I've seen in my building is the kids are very engaged when it's synchronous. We've had a couple of teachers in our building who have actually picked up their computers during their morning meetings and like gone on a tour of the school building so that kids can see the other teachers in the building that they haven't seen since March. It's been kind of fun for them to just stick their heads in the door and the teacher's like, here, there's Miss Rouse. We, just wave. So the kids are super engaged with that. And the downside to that is, if kids have poor internet speed or if they're younger kids, I think, by now a lot of our little kids that we were worried about are pros at getting on Google Meet or Zoom or whatever live thing that we were using. But, in the beginning it was kind of hard. If they miss meetings, they may or may not have access to the recordings of the meetings. So there are some pros and cons to the live. The asynchronous part can be really great for students who are less comfortable participating in that whole group setting. They're shy or they need to re-watch something. You have those kids in your classroom in a normal school year that you have to explain it to them 3 or 4 times before it really sinks in. With asynchronous video lessons, they can go back and watch that lesson as many times as they need to until they get it. But the downside to that is, there's not quite as much connection with the teacher, with their classmates. There's kind of a delay. If they have questions, they have to email you and then, they have to wait for clarification and support. So there's pros and cons to both things. And I think, I think it would be, crazy of us to say, oh, well, all synchronous is what we need to do, or all asynchronous is what we need to do. I really think in this situation, it really does have to be a blend of both. So over the past 6 or 7 years, I have done a lot of work with asynchronous teaching. When I work with North Carolina Virtual, I work in the Occupational Course of Study program, and all of our direction, all of our instruction is done asynchronously. So the OCS students, if you're not familiar with how that works, they are in a seated class with an EC teacher, and the EC teacher helps them access the course content through Canvas. And so I'm the English teacher. And I don't know if you've been in education long enough, there was a time when the state came in and said that all these EC teachers had to be highly qualified in every subject that they taught, which put a lot of people in a bind. So this co-teaching model was kind of the answer to that allowed the EC teacher to still just be the EC teacher. And then they pulled in these content experts, if you want to call them experts, but licensed in that content area. But I don't ever meet with those students live, face-to-face. So all of my teaching is done asynchronously. So some really important things: clearly communicated expectations between students and teachers. And if your students are young enough, the parents, the guardian, the support system that is helping them. And we'll get into different things that you can do with that. Manageable chunking of lessons and concepts. This is such a huge thing. We can chunk when we're at school, we break things up into little bits, but sometimes we forget that we still need to do that when we're teaching asynchronously. And highly personalized and specific feedback. This is so important, especially if you have yet to meet your children in person, like in my county. Our kids have not been in the building yet. So we have had to really work on going ahead and building those relationships with kids through the feedback piece. All right, so let's dive right in. The platform that my county chooses to use for K-5 is Seesaw. I do have some experience in Google Classroom. I am very experienced with Canvas as well. I'm not familiar with a whole lot of other systems. We do use Class Dojo as a school, but I have not used it as far as a learning management system. But one of the biggest things that you can do is give specific directions. Step 1, step 2, step 3. You need to lay it out for them exactly what they need to do so that there's no question. And that doesn't matter if they're in kindergarten or if they're in 12th grade. I have been watching my own children through this whole process. My 3rd grader has been doing great because this is how his teacher gives directions. She lays it out specifically. Now you do this. Now you do this. Now you do this. My 6th and 7th grader have some teachers that are doing that, and then some who are not as clear on the directions, and they're struggling with the ones that are not as clear on the directions. So that's a big thing, those specific directions. Learning agendas. Oh my gracious, this has been such a lifesaver. So I taught in the Jumpstart summer program for my county, which was kind of like summer school, but we didn't call it summer school. It was for the kids that we felt were at risk, especially having been out since March. So we provided a month of instruction before school actually started back. That was targeted to making sure that they had specific skills to support them in the grade level that they were going to. And one of the biggest pieces of this for us was a daily learning agenda that was posted. It was easy for the kids to see. This is what I have to do today. This is the meeting I have to go to. And then we linked everything out. Now, you don't have to do all that linking because the linking is a ton of work. But I do strongly suggest that you house all of that, especially if you're a K-5 teacher, that you have a slide, something that they can go to every day and see, this is what I have to do. Even I've heard some counties are doing like printed checklists, whatever works, but it's so much more manageable for them. And you think about in your classroom or in my classroom, I always had a schedule up on my board, and I had times, and I had, okay, at 9:30 we're going to do math. At 10 o'clock we have a bathroom break. I put that visual up for them in my classroom. Why would I not do the same thing in my virtual learning space? So these are just some examples. They don't have to be this cute. I have seen some super cute ones since we started back to school. I can see everybody's Seesaw in my building because I am a specialist teacher. And I'm telling you, we have got some super creative people in my building. They have come up with some really cute stuff. Here's a really basic one here, but posting that every day. And you can even, in most learning systems, you can schedule it to post. Like ours, countywide, is supposed to post every day at 7 a.m. Well, most of us are on our way to work at 7 a.m. So you schedule it the day before or the week before, so it go ahead and loads in at 7 o'clock, and those kids know that it's there. Verbal directions. In Seesaw, it is super easy to record yourself saying the directions. I'm not sure how easy it is in Canvas or in Google Classroom, but I'm telling you, especially if you have got K2 babies or kids that are struggling readers, you don't have any guarantee that they have a supportive adult sitting beside them that can read those directions for them. So if you have the opportunity to just record your directions verbally so that they can follow along and hear it at the same time, then you don't have to worry about any kind of miscommunication. They thought this word said this, but they misread it because they're in first grade and it was a big word, And this is just a little video. I'm not going to play it for you, but it's just a sample of me reading the directions, and I just do step 1. And I type my directions first, and then I just read them. I don't have to come up with them out of my head. Let's move into manageable chunking. This is my this is my huge thing today. Mini lessons. You know, we talk about mini lessons a lot in K-5. And I had never really done a mini lesson until I went to K-5. You know, in high school, we're used to 90-minute blocks, and that was what I was used to teaching. And then when I got to elementary school, and I was like, after about 10 minutes, they're done. They're done. They've tuned out. They've heard what they're going to hear, 10 minutes, and they're done. So mini lessons are perfect for recording, but you need to consider your video length. This summer, when we were planning for our Jumpstart program, we had the incredible opportunity to work with a consultant named Pernille Rip, and some of you may have heard of her. She is a teacher and consultant out of the Midwest. And she told us, she said, you need to think about the video length when you're recording things. Think about your own children, or think about your students who like to watch YouTube. How long are the videos that they watch on YouTube? My own children, they love YouTube. Oh my gracious, it's like their favorite thing to do in the world. And one of them is grounded right now, and he can't watch YouTube. And like, you would think the world is going to come to an end because he can't watch his YouTube. The videos they watch are like 8 minutes, 9 minutes, 10 minutes, and then they're done. They're ready to go to another video. We can't, as educators, expect to record a 30-minute video on area model multiplication and keep children engaged that whole 30 minutes. 10 to 12 minutes is about where they're at. And even less than that, the younger they get. You can use a script. This is a beautiful thing about doing your mini lessons. You can script it out and you can like tape it up. This summer, when we were doing all of our recording for our Jumpstart stuff, I had scripts everywhere. I had taped to the wall and stuck up and held up in places, and I literally would read off the script. We used the Fountas and Pinnell system in our county, and if you're familiar with that, you know that all of those interactive read alouds and their LLI system and their guided reading things are all scripted, and they have those cards. We use those. You can upload your mini lessons to YouTube as unlisted. When you upload as unlisted, they do not show up in a public search, but you can share the link with students and they can see it. You can also upload them to different learning platforms, Google Classroom, Seesaw, Canvas. And if you're thoughtful about it when you create them, you can use them over and over. And when I say thoughtful, I mean, don't mention days of the week. Don't mention months or seasons. Don't mention specific student names. Then you can use those again over and over and over, or year after year. You know, if something were to happen and we were to have to do this again in this, in the spring, because the way my courses are set up, my STEM courses, they're semester based. So I could, in theory, the videos that I have made for this fall, if I needed to reuse them in January, I could, because I was very careful about not, mentioning specific things that would make them time bound to a certain day or time. With manageable chunking, you can do a lot of front loading, and this is an educational term that I have heard in the past, but I haven't heard it as much lately. With front loading, anything that you anticipate that students may struggle with, unfamiliar vocabulary, new tech tools or feature, guided reading books, you can do all of this stuff. And here, there are some samples. This one right here is actually an unfamiliar vocabulary word that I did for my North Carolina virtual students. I used the word allegory in an announcement, and I wasn't sure that they would know what the word allegory meant. So I made this video of myself explaining what allegory was, reading the definition. You can see I pulled up the definition and actually did a screen recording. And then in my announcement, when I got to the word allegory, I just linked the video so they could click on the word allegory and they could hear me explain it and use it in a sentence and give them the definition. So that's something that you can do. And it's like a 30-second video. It didn't take any time at all. New tech tools or features. Our district pushes things out every so often, new apps for our students, and sometimes they put them out there and the kids don't know how to use them. If you know your district is about to push something out and it's a tool that you want your students to be able to use, then record yourself explaining how to use it. And then you can share that video with them and you don't have to explain yourself, 500 times. You can say, hey, sweetheart, if you forgot how to do this, just go back and watch the video. It's a whole lot easier than re-explaining it over and over and over. Something that I saw this summer that was really cool, we had some students who could not attend our live guided reading group. So the teachers never got to hear them read. And then someone said, hey, let's create something in Seesaw for them. And they took PDFs of books. They used books from Reading A to Z. They used Fountas and Pinnell books. But they took pictures of the pages and made them into a Seesaw assignment and uploaded it and asked the kids to record themselves reading. So then the teachers could hear the kids reading and they could do their assessment or their running record or whatever they needed to do. So those are different ways that you can kind of chunk things up for them. You can also, I forgot to mention on the slide, you can also do videos for new tech tools or things for your peers. I am all the time making videos for people, and they'll call me and say, hey, can you explain to me how to do such and such? And I'll say, well, I can, but it's kind of complicated. If you'll give me a few minutes, I'll make you a video. And they're like, okay. And so I'll make a little screencast and I'll show them what to do and I'll send it to them and then they can watch it whenever they want to and they can watch it as many times as they want to. And then they've got it, as a resource there. I did it this morning. So that's something else that you can do. Something else that we need to think about when we're doing manageable chunking is consistency versus variety. Now, some teachers have got a great system and they've got kids who are just killing this remote learning thing. They have got it. They know what they're doing. The teacher knows that she can put anything out there and the kids are going to do it. And then you have kids and anytime there's something new, they have a fit. They can't handle the change. This remote learning is hard enough without a new tool every day or a new app every day. So you have to use your professional judgment there. Are your students the kind of kids who need that consistency? Or are they the kind of kids who are going to get bored and they're not going to stay engaged unless you give them some kind of variety? I will tell you that if you are using a variety, it is always best to forewarn them that, tomorrow we're going to do something different. We're going to be using this app tomorrow and maybe do a little walkthrough with them or video or in your morning meeting. That way it's not completely new and unusual to them. They have heard of it. And on this picture here, a Safe YouTube is listed. I did not update this, but if you've not heard, apparently there was this huge issue with Safe YouTube a couple of weeks ago. And like all the videos got hacked and the links didn't go to where they were supposed to. And some of them were going to like super inappropriate places. So if you use Safe YouTube, just be wary of that. And just know that, could be an issue. Personalized and specific feedback. This is another tenet of asynchronous teaching. This is such a huge thing. And North Carolina Virtual is so big on this. And so a lot of the training that I've had on leaving feedback in a remote setting has come from North Carolina Virtual. But I like to call it a feedback sandwich. You acknowledge the child's work or you compliment them. And sometimes that complimenting is hard. Sometimes they have really ruined it. There's nothing that they've done right, but at least they tried to turn it in. One of my favorite lines is, I appreciate your effort, because they did at least do something, or you've been working hard this morning or something like that. So you acknowledge them or compliment them. Then you give your reinforcement or your redirection. Okay, what did they do wrong? You can see here in this one, I said, Haley, it looks like this was hard for you on all three of these On all three of these ladders, we're multiplying each number by 1. Remember, that's the identity property of multiplication. So I've reinforced that concept. I've redirected this student. And then you give them their next action or some kind of appreciation. Can you try this again? Go back and look at this. Can you fix this and send it back to me? And then thank you or something like that. And I'm telling you, this works, okay? This works. When you give them, you kind of make the tough stuff in the middle sound a little better because, you've got your nice stuff at the beginning and then what you want them to do, it's a little bit easier. And I know that this looks like a lot and you're thinking, I have 300 Seesaw posts right now that are unapproved and I can't leave this much feedback for every single post because I will be up all night. If you have the option to record your feedback, and I know that you do in Seesaw and I know that you do in Canvas, you can talk a whole lot faster than you can type. And that has been my saving grace since school started back. Because we have 460 students and I touch all of them, I can't type this much for every single kid. I do a lot of recording, explaining, that kind of thing, and that's the feedback that I leave for students. But this is such a huge thing. The number one easiest way to personalize feedback is to use a student's name. A person's name is important. But here's the catch. If you're going to use their name in the feedback, you have to spell it correctly. Or if you're saying it, you need to pronounce it correctly. And I don't know how PowerSchool is in your system, but PowerSchool is not always the definitive answer in how a child's name is spelled in my system. we have several kids whose names are misspelled in my school, with hyphens or apostrophes or things like that. So make sure that you check, especially if a kid has a real unusual spelling, make sure that it's spelled right before you are, putting that back in their feedback. The pronunciation, and y'all, we all know, we have all had those kids that you get your roster and you're looking down there and you're thinking about calling roll on that first day and you get to that one name and you're like, and you might even say it. I'm not sure how to say your name, sweetie, but your last name is such and such. You can still do that with kids, even though we're remote, okay? You can pick up the phone and you can call that house and you can say, hey, I really want to learn how to say your name. Can you teach me how to say your name? Or if you're in Seesaw, what we've seen a lot since school started back, we've seen a lot of teachers saying, record a video of yourself introducing yourself. Make sure you include your name. That way we can all hear how that child's name is said and we can all have access to that and we can all know how that child's name is said. So we pronounce it correctly. This is such a huge thing. And it's not hard to get it right. Another thing that you can do, and I've kind of touched on this already, is verbal or video feedback. And you can do this two ways, okay? So you can make a personalized video for one kid who is really struggling with a concept. You've got this one kid, they just can't get their head wrapped around it. And there's a video example there for you. And I'm not going to play it because I think y'all have access to the slideshow and you can play these and see them yourself. But I specifically targeted one student. She had turned something in. It was all kinds of crazy. I pulled up the assignment and I actually walked through it on a video, and then I shared that video with her so that she could see exactly how to do it. Another thing that you can do, if you have kids who are all struggling with the same concept, you can make a video, don't include anybody's names, and then you can use that same video over and over and over for that feedback. And you can even use the same text. You can see there in my example, I loved your effort on this quiz. He really did not do well. It looks like the question on metaphors was tough. Watch this video to review. And when he clicks on the video about metaphors, it does a review about a specific question on an assessment that he did not do good on. So you can reuse that feedback, those feedback videos, just like you can reuse your mini lesson videos. Another thing that you can do is get to know your students virtually, whether that's, doing digital surveys and games. You can do Flipgrid videos. I have not yet mastered the fabulousness that is Flipgrid. I'm learning. But our PE teacher, she is killing it at our school with Flipgrid. So you can post something about, you can post a video, then the kids can post little videos, and then they can respond to each other's videos with more videos. I don't know, the kids really like it, but I just haven't quite figured it out yet. You can ask other teachers or former teachers. It may be a situation where a kid is not submitting any work for you, but might be submitting work for the math teacher or the PE teacher or the music teacher. And you can kind of get together with that teacher and say, hey, I'm having a really hard time reaching this student. Can you, what do you know about this kid? You can pick up the phone and call parents. Hey, I'm your child's second grade teacher this year. What do you want me to know about your student? And if all else fails, you can mail home paper and pencil questionnaires, because Lord knows little kids love mail. We had some teachers who mailed stuff out at the end of the year last year, and those kids acted like it was Christmas, okay? They got letters and stickers from their teachers, and they thought it was the greatest thing ever. You can still do those kinds of things. Yes, it takes work, but this is the kind of, it takes work to get to know them when they're in your classroom with you. And then you can use this information that you gather to inform your feedback to them. Even something as simple as if I know that Jane's favorite color is pink, because I've done a survey and that's her favorite color, and I need to give her some kind of shout out in my announcement that day, I can, type in pink text, great job, Jane, and it's in pink, and that's Jane's favorite color, so she must, then Jane thinks, oh, Miss Rouse must know pink is my favorite color, It goes such a long way, especially when they're not right there in front of you. All right, so here's the nitty gritty. These are the nuts and bolts of building asynchronous lessons. The first thing you have to do is find a video creator that you're comfortable with. And I feel like at this point in the school year, most everybody is in this place. So I will share a few things with you, ones that I've used that may not be something that you've ever heard of. I have done video recordings on YouTube. I am not crazy about it. It's great if you're not planning on sharing your screen. The perk of YouTube as a video creator is that there is an unlimited length. So if you've got something that you know is going to go a long time, I think you can record for 24 hours straight on YouTube. Not that anybody would want to, but you can. Screencast-O-Matic was my jam for a long time. You can record your screen, you can record your camera, or you can do both. The free version of Screencast-O-Matic is limited to 15 minutes. I never needed more than 15 minutes until all of this crazy remote learning happened. And I have had some videos that ran to 16 or 17, and I was like, oh, how do I cut out this, or how do I cut out that? But Screencast-O-Matic is very nice. You can screen record on your computer. I have linked some Mac directions there. Windows-based systems are a little bit more complicated because it depends on what Windows you're running, but I think you can do it through QuickTime. I have never really used it. I'm not crazy about it. And then this summer, I discovered this glorious program called Loom. It is web-based. You sign up for a trial, and then if you sign up using your teacher email account, then you can get a free professional license. It is unlimited length. There's an editor. It has cloud-based storage. It is super duper nice, and it works very similar to Screencast-O-Matic or even Screencastify if you're familiar with that. You can record your screen, you can record your camera, or you can record both at the same time. I have heard of teachers who use Zoom to build their asynchronous lessons. They start a meeting with only themselves, and they join the meeting with a second device, an iPhone or an iPad, and use that as their screen share or their document camera. I've seen people do it. I don't think it's probably the cleanest way to do it because Zoom does not have an editor in it, but you know, desperate times call for desperate measures. Camtasia, Jing, I used to use some on and off, but Loom is right now is my favorite thing to use. You have to be careful about recording lessons in platforms like Seesaw and ClassDojo. Seesaw has a limit of like 5 minutes right now. I think ClassDojo's limit is 7. But the catch to that is you can't separate that video back out of that platform. You can't pull that video out of Seesaw and put it into something else or put it on YouTube or something like that. It is far easier and smarter, work smarter, not harder, to record your lesson using something else and then put the lesson into Seesaw or put the video into ClassDojo rather than trying to pull them out of ClassDojo or Seesaw. After you've discovered your video creator, you need to plan. Are you doing whole group instruction, feedback, one-to-one? Are you going to make sure that this video is something you can use again later, or is it specific just to this one lesson? What supplies, manipulatives, tools do you need? Do you need base 10 blocks? Do you need Cuisinart rods? Do you need a copy of a novel? Do you need worksheets? Do you need slides to present to kids? You need to, just like you would plan a lesson, on paper that you would teach in class, you have to plan your lesson when you're teaching asynchronously. Document cameras were a big deal for us this summer. Amazon had some really nice little $100 document cameras, but I've seen all kinds of suggestions on Facebook about different document cameras or like even makeshift. I saw something last week with, I didn't look at it a whole lot, a pencil and a CD, and somehow it reflects off the screen. You might have seen it on Facebook. I didn't look at it that hard because it looked like it was, prone to failure very quickly, so I didn't mess around with that too much. Script. When I first started teaching, first year I taught, I was a nervous wreck all the time, and I wrote down everything I was going to say until I got confident enough that I knew I could start a lesson and talk about what I needed to talk about. You can do that with asynchronous lessons. A lot of us, I've heard a lot of people say, it feels like my first year teaching all over again. And it really kind of is. We've never taught this way before. So yes, script it out. If that's what you need to do to feel comfortable with it, then do that. Practice, practice in front of your camera without turning it on. Practice in front of your kids. Practice in front of your husband. I read stories to my kids all the time, especially if it's a new book that I've never read out loud. I read it to my kids or read it to my husband. I do all the voices because, in elementary school, we do all the voices when we read books. They always look at me like I'm crazy, but that's what works. And then start with low stakes. Let the first lesson that you record be a lesson that you could teach in your sleep, or let it be a book that you're reading aloud. And you pick up the book just like you would if your children were sitting there with you in your classroom, and you pick up that book and you read a page and you flip it around and you show them the pictures just like you would if they were there. And then you flip another page, read it. Super easy way to build your confidence with asynchronous lessons. You can even project, do your document camera, and you don't even have to show your face until you get used to building those lessons and get comfortable building those lessons. Engagement is huge. You have to be enthusiastic. Now in elementary school, that was the biggest thing I saw when I transitioned from high school to elementary school, I remember that first year just thinking, wow, these people are like over the top all the time. But that is just how elementary school is. And since you're not there in person with those kids, you really have to bump it up a couple of notches. You really have to be that super enthusiastic, engaged, exciting person, because they're not there with you to share that energy. It's a little harder to share that energy through the screen. Wait time. If y'all remember Dora the Explorer, my kids loved watching Dora the Explorer. And she would always be like, what do we need from our backpack? And she would get quiet and stand there. And it was like the most awkward thing ever. And you knew like she was waiting for the little kids to be like, the map. It worked for her. Okay, you're gonna feel like Dora, and it's gonna feel foolish because and the kids know that you're just a video. That those little kids, if they're engaged enough, when you give that wait time, they will answer, even though they know you can't hear them, even though they know you're just a video, they will answer. Give them cues like you would in your classroom. Tell me what you think about this, and cup your ear, or let's all put on our thinking cap, or let's look at the text with your binoculars. You can do all of those things in your video lessons, just like those kids would be in front of you. Props. Now, I'm not much on props, but some people are. Crazy hats, sunglasses, do whatever you need to do. We have some phenomenal first grade teachers in my building, and every year they do like a couple of theme days. And one of the theme days they do is dinosaurs, and they go all out. They deck out their rooms. They wear like this little safari gear. They have the hats. They have little name tags for the kids, and the kids eat it up. They love it. You can still do that kind of stuff even though you're on video. Themes, you want to theme your lessons in a newscast or after popular TV shows. I've been doing a lot of when I do my videos. Hi, this is Miss Rouse, your friendly neighborhood STEM teacher. That's how I start all my lessons. It's goofy. The kids like it. I don't know why, but they do. So you can do those kinds of things. Once you have recorded your lessons, then what do you do with them? Storage. Video files are huge. They are big old honking files, and they will junk up your computer. So you need to find some kind of cloud-based storage. Google Drive is probably the best thing, especially if you have a Google Drive account through school. I do think, if memory serves me correct, all of the Google apps for education, Google Drive has an unlimited storage capacity. So you can fill that up with videos. The thing about that is if you're sharing direct links with students from Google Drive, you need to make sure that they have permission to view it, because there's nothing worse than posting a link to a video on your assignment and the kids don't have sharing permissions, and you get 50 emails in the space of 10 minutes that I'll say, Miss Rouse, I can't see this video. Miss Rouse, I can't see this video. It will make you crazy. So save yourself the trouble before you share that link and make sure it's set where your students can view it. You can upload things to YouTube. I uploaded 20 videos today to YouTube, stuff that needed to go up that I had created. And if you have good internet, it doesn't take a long time. Some programs offer their own cloud-based storage. Zoom, Screencast-O-Matic, Loom, all of those offer their own cloud-based storage. I will say about Zoom, if you are recording your Zoom meetings to the cloud, you need to check with your administrator, whoever is the administrator of your account, especially if you're using it through school, because Zoom does have a storage limit. And we found out the hard way in my county, like the second week of school, we were at like 82% of our Zoom storage limit. So you might want to check on that. Sharing them with students. If you have slow internet, I have horribly slow internet here at home. And I'm actually hotspotting from my cell phone tonight. It's easier to share a link than it is to upload a video to a platform. And you can share links just about anywhere. You can share links on Seesaw, in Google Classroom, in Google Slides, in Canvas. You can actually embed the video in Canvas so the kids don't ever even have to leave Canvas. They can just view the video right there on the assignment. I know that this said that we would go to 7:50, but I know you all are all tired. But these are my final thoughts. When I first started in my digital learning role a couple of years ago, One of the quotes that I heard was, technology will never replace great teachers, but technology in the hands of great teachers is transformational. And I still feel like that is so true. You know, we've been doing this remote learning thing, and all I hear from parents is, my kids need to be back in the building. They need that teacher. They need that teacher interaction. This remote learning, this technology, this is just not enough. Because it's not, because they need that human connection with us. You know, they need to be in there with us. Technology is not ever going to replace us. But if we are wise and we use the technology appropriately, then we can transform things and we can make a huge difference in how things are done. Over there on the right is my contact info. Please do not hesitate to email me or text me. My Google Voice number is up there. I also have a Facebook group, my EduSoulmate. Her name is Jen, and she is a high school business teacher in Carteret County. She and I went to high school together and worked together for a little while in Orr County. And she is my person when it comes to education and teaching. She thinks like I think. You know, if you're familiar with Star Trek, like the Vulcan mind meld, she and I just have that. And we started about 2 weeks ago, we started a Facebook group called the EduSoulmates, and we share tech tips on Tuesday. We have Saturday session, like mini PD sessions about a variety of things. It's just a great spot for support and for places for you to ask questions and you know, and share. And if we don't know the answer to a question, we will try to find it out for you. But again, I thank you so much for being here tonight. I'm going to move this green box so that you can scan that QR code so that you have your attendance taken and you get your CEUs for tonight. If you have questions, please feel free to pop them in the chat or unmute yourself and ask away. And if you don't have questions, once you've done your QR code, you are free to go. Yes, Brandy, you are definitely allowed to share these slides. I don't know the access that y'all have to them through Nisus, but Brandy, if you'll drop your email in here, I will make sure you get a copy of these.
Thank you.
You are very welcome. I got it, Brandy. Thank you.
Thank you. I wish we would have had this workshop like at the beginning of the year. It would have been super helpful.
I did one in July, and like I capped it at 100 people, and I had like 98 in there, and I was like, oh my gosh, I never expected this to happen. Wow. And what was really crazy was it was like some of my kids' teachers were in it. And I was like, hey, good to see you.
That's great though. Well, I've been to 4 sessions today, and this one was the best. So
oh, thank you. That's such a compliment. Thank you. Reed, yes, my district right now is all virtual. They actually decided last night, our Board of Education decided last night that our kids would come back in 2 weeks. And we were told originally that it would be October before we saw any of our babies. So it has been an interesting day in my building today, us all trying to figure out exactly how this is going to work. There's been a lot of questions and a lot of stress today.
Samantha, can I ask you a question?
Yes, ma'am.
I had one before I had this with you, and I was successful in doing my attendance. This was my first time doing it, so I wasn't fast enough for my last presenter, and she didn't leave it up long enough for me. And so in other words, when I tried to do the code thing, it told me I was not able, I didn't sign up for it or something. How should I go about making sure that I get this encore, not yours, but the last one I was on.
That link that is on this page, the bit.ly that says NCBOLD September attendance,
Yeah.
it should let you enter attendance for any of the session that you did.
Yes, it does.
It does. Okay.
Yeah,
So
there's a drop down arrow with all the sessions on it for today and tomorrow. So you just click on the one that you that you missed the code for.
Okay. All right. So
I can put that link in the chat so you can actually click on it. Because I don't think you can click on it on this slide. So just give me just a second and I'll pop it in the chat.
Yeah, like her green box wasn't removed, and I'm like panicking because it's like, this is the first time I'm not fast enough. But I got yours. I was ready for it.
We used this summer. We were supposed to use this thing because I presented with the Southeastern Education Alliance this summer, and we were supposed to use this same program and move our little box and everything. And like the morning of, they sent us an email and said it's not working. Don't use the QR code. And I was like, what do I do? What do I do?
I know.
But I think you'll be fine if you just use that that bit.ly code that's there.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
And Samantha, I put my email in the chat also because I would love to have a copy.
Okay, awesome. I will send it away. It may not be tonight. It may be tomorrow because bedtime and baths are looming at my house.
I hear you. I hear that. Yeah, thank you very much. That was
You're
wonderful.
very welcome. I'll stay on just about 5 more minutes if there are any other questions that come up in the chat, or if you just want to turn your mic on and ask away. Otherwise, once you've got your attendance done, you are free to go. Have a great evening.
So will the slides disappear from your courses?
I don't know how that works. I think you'll have access to them for a while. You may be able to download them or like make a copy of them to save to your drive from there. I'm not sure.
Okay, I'll check and see if it opened in my Google Drive when I opened it.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.